Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. I am Venugopal. Uh, Presently under Dr. Shashidhar sir, I am pursuing my PhD degree. Today, I'm going to tell about there is a research done by me on macroeconomic variation factors influencing Indian rupee volatility, a multi-regression approach to exchange rate dynamics. So the background of the research is foreign exchange rate. It means the value of one country's currency compared with other countries' currency. It's actually the rate of one currency with other currency. The foreign exchange rate of a currency is very critical when we take it to understand the economic health of a country. We measure it actually to say it is the economic health of the country. So there are many factors which influence the foreign exchange rate of a currency. Some of the factors I have listed down. So they are interest rate, inflation rates, economic growth, trade, trade balance, import exports, public debt, current account deficit, and the Sensexes also will have an impact on it. So the research has been done by taking the data between 2023 January to 2024 December for 2 years. So the reason being the Indian rupee has got much more fluctuations. There are factors like rising global interest rates, US Federal Reserve's quantitative tightening, persistent crude oil volatility, and we also seen fluctuations in developing and emerging economies with respect to their currencies also. The background of this research is understanding how inflation rate. I have taken four main variables: inflation rate, repo rate, current account deficit, and public debt influence the rupees movements, Indian rupees movements. So previously, some literatures have been already done on this. Some researches have been done. Singh in 2005 and Arti in 2013 found large current account deficit increases the need for foreign currency. Thus, the pressure on rupee and India's imports will increase the rupee depreciation. Similarly, Borio and Bisharat found that high debt causes exchange rate instability, especially countries like India. And Mishkin and Dunbar's found that when inflation is high for a period of time, it reduces the currency value. Kalbhor and Patra studied India and confirmed high inflation weakens the Indian rupee. Arora and Goel found sometimes rising repo rate leads to capital outflow and giving slow economic growth. So what I found in this research is many studies have been conducted, but the recent study, because of economic factors and political factors, studies have for the recent, that is from January 2023 to December 2023, for conducting by taking inflation rate, repo rate, current account deficit, and public debt have been considered, sir. Purpose of the study is we will mainly study the dependent variable foreign exchange rate, which will be dependent on the current account deficit, trade, and other factors we will also take into consideration, but I have taken only four factors, sir. The data has been taken monthly and it has been averaged, sir. So we will take year-wise, month-wise data for 2 years, and it has been studied over a period of 2 years using SPSS and R square models, and Excel has been used as a tools for this research. Objectives are examine the extent to which inflation influences the short-term fluctuations of the Indian rupees exchange rate during the period 2022-24. Second, to evaluate the effect of repo rate variations on the foreign exchange value of the Indian rupee in the context of India's recent monetary policy shifts. Third, to assess the role of current account deficit in determining the rupee volatility against major global currencies. Fourth, to analyze the influence of India's public debt levels on the rupee's exchange rate performance. So these are objectives of this research. So study, we have taken quantitative explanatory research design to investigate the influence of these macroeconomic variables on exchange rate of Indian rupees. The secondary data has been collected from January 2023 to 24. Monthly exchange rate of the Indian rupee against major foreign currencies were retrieved from xrate.com, currency converter portals, and RBI, Reserve Bank of India's reference rate publications. Repo rate data has been collected from RBI statistical database, the Central Bank of India, Reserve Bank of India's statistical database, current account deficit data from the database of Ministry of Commerce and Industry, balance of payments reports and public debt statistics from Union budget documents, and Controller and Auditor General reports. Method is focusing on exchange rate against a sample of 10 to 13 major countries selected on the basis of economic linkages such as trade, capital flows, and remittances. These countries include US, UK, Euro, Japan, China, UAE, Singapore, Australia, and Canada. So methodology is, I have taken Indian rupee exchange rate, monthly average. It has been averaged monthly Indian rupee exchange rate as the dependent variable. And I have taken four as independent variables, four economic factors as independent variable. They are inflation rate, expressed as a consumer price index. CPI is consumer price index based monthly percentage. Second is repo rate, the RBI's monthly policy rate, current account deficit presented as a percentage of GDP. And fourth is public debt captured in absolute monthly values. For data analysis, multiple linear regression analysis aimed at assessing the impact of four key macroeconomic variables. First is inflation rate, second is repo rate, third is current account deficit, and public debt on exchange rate movements of the Indian rupee against major global currencies during the year 2023-24 are done. So after this is the data which we have collected from various sources. As I said, this first column's inflation rate data, second is we have averaged it, and repo rate data and average repo rate data has been collected. So when it was done, so when it was conducted in a regression model, so we got these results. So a regression model yielded R square, a value of 0.479, which is approximately around 50%. So it says statistically influence is more. Influence of the economic factors we consider here is more on the exchange rate of the Indian rupee. In the ANOVA test we conducted, so ANOVA test demonstrates the overall regression model of is statistically significant with an F statistic of 1.611 and corresponding p-value of 0.0487. which just below the 5% significant threshold, indicating the dependent variable inflation, repo rate, current account deficit, and public debt have meaningful and effect on the fluctuations of Indian rupees exchange rate. So on regression also, regression coefficients as presented on the table. So we derived these coefficients. The inflation rate coefficients are beta is 0.369 and p is equal to 0.043. It shows a positive result and statistically significant relationship with exchange rate and the inflation rate. The second result we got with repo rate is a beta of 0.407 and p is equal to 0.050, demonstrating positive relationship through its p value, which is at 0.05 threshold, showing increase in RBI's policy interest rate associated with weaker rupee. The third result of current account deficit exhibiting strong positive and significant effect on the exchange rate. Beta is equal to 0.827, P is equal to 0.033. A high current account deficit with rupee volatility and depreciation. The fourth result is with respect to the component public debt, showing a positive effect of beta is equal to 1.629 with p value of 0.073, indicating rising debt will weaken the rupee over the concerns of the economy and discipline in the economy of a country. So to conclude, all the four coefficients, all the four independent variables and their effect. So what we can conclude is exchange rate dynamics of the Indian rupee during the volatile post-pandemic economic phase of year 2023 and 24 for a period of 2 years, a multiple linear regression model utilizing monthly averaged data, secondary data collected from various sources of the ministry and central bank, RBI, found that current account deficit and inflation have significant impact on rupee depreciation, highlighting persistent trade imbalances and inflationary pressures as core destabilizing forces. So what we can actually suggest is policymakers should aim to maintain sustainable debt levels to preserve currency stability, while trade strategies should prioritize narrowing the current account deficit through diversification and enhancing the exports of the country. Thank you, sir.